everyone, welcome to the iOS development training. In this session, we will dive into the Apple and iOS ecosystem to build a strong foundation for app development. We will learn how to navigate the Apple ecosystem, utilize essential tools, and understand how different components like Swift, UIKit, and Xcode come together to create robust iOS applications. So let's get started. Today we'll cover an introduction to the Apple ecosystem, its components, and the tools required for iOS development. We'll also discuss how iOS apps are developed and distributed. The goal is to give you a complete understanding of the ecosystem and how to build apps efficiently. Apple ecosystem. The Apple ecosystem is a highly integrated and optimized environment where software, hardware, and services work seamlessly together. It includes a wide range of hardware devices, operating systems, and services. Understanding how these components interact will help you create apps that offer a consistent and efficient user experience. So Apple's closed source approach ensures high quality, secure, and well optimized performance across all the devices. Apple's ecosystem is known for its efficiency and seamless integration across devices. As developers, we primarily use macOS because it supports essential tools like Xcode and the iOS simulator. This ecosystem provides the perfect environment to develop, test, and deploy iOS applications while leveraging the latest hardware and software advancements. So let's understand macOS, why we need or why we use Mac operating system or the MacBook. So basically, to develop iOS apps, macOS is essential because Xcode, because of we need Xcode, right? Apple's official IDE, which is Apple's official integrated development environment, so which only runs on macOS platform. So basically, in addition to Xcode, we'll also use tools like terminal, like simulator command line tools, instruments for debugging and testing. So basically, by mastering these tools, we'll be able to build, test, and fine-tune our apps efficiently. Basically, macOS is very essential. Xcode, because without Xcode we cannot run any iOS or macOS applications. So let's understand how iOS and app development work. Basically, iOS is Apple's mobile operating system designed for iPhones and iPads. It focuses on providing a smooth user experience with high performance and security. So understanding the iOS app lifecycle is very crucial, as it helps us manage the app's states effectively, ensuring smooth transitions and efficient memory uses. As we know, like any application in the mobile, can have different states, like the state which is not opened yet. The app which is not opened yet, which is being closed, that state is called not running state, which is still in the disk, which is not loaded from the disk. And inactive state can be the app is open but it is not receiving any input, that can be in the inactive state. Active is which is in the foreground, app is receiving the events or the actions, inputs from the user. Then there is another state called background. App is running, but it is not visible. Sometimes, in the background, app can still perform some operations, downloading operations or playing some music in the background, but still that app is not active but doing some operations, and that is not visible, and that app is called the background app. And suspended app is in the memory but not executing, so not executing any code and not doing anything, but still the app is in the memory, and that app state is called the suspended state. So we have to understand all these, app life cycle. What is app? How does it work on the devices, right? Then how iOS apps are developed. Basically, developing an iOS app involves using Swift or Objective-C. So basically, the Swift and Objective-C is these are the programming languages, and they leverage Xcode for coding and UI design. We'll also use architecture like MVC, model view controller, model view model, all these architecture to structure the code efficiently. We'll focus on building apps that follow best practices for performance and maintainability. So Swift is the modern programming language which is safe, efficient. Why the Swift programming language is safe? We'll come to this point sometime in some other videos. But Swift, as for new projects, we always use Swift. Objective-C is still usable, still it is supported by Apple, but it is mainly, we can say that the Objective-C is supported for legacy apps, to support the legacy apps, because there are so many iOS applications which are earlier developed using Objective-C. So Apple still support those applications. That's why Objective-C is still supported, and we need some development tools. As I said, Xcode is a must. Under Xcode we can do some UI building task, code editor, and debugging. So all these components are required. So, and then let's go through how App Store and app distribution process works. Publishing an iOS app on the App Store involves various steps, from coding and testing to submission, submission and review. So first of all, the development. Understanding the App Store guideline, first of all, once we have the idea of an application, then we can start have some plan for that development. We'll do some planning, we'll do some designing, and then we start development coding and UI design. After that, once the development is done, we do the testing on the simulators, and also through the test flight. So what is test flight here? Which is mainly used for it is a testing platform provided by Apple. If we have the Apple developer membership program, or the account, or we have enrolled on Apple developer membership program, then the test flight is automatically will be able to use for free. And we need the code signing and provisioning profiles for running the app on the devices, testing the app on the devices, and then we'll go through the app submission and App Store via App Store Connect. Once we submit the app to the App Store, Apple will go through the review process, and if everything is fine, then the Apple will approve that particular app, and they will release to the App Store. But at this point, before doing development, and before submitting the app to the App Store, understanding the App Store guidelines and compliance requirements is very important, because it ensures that our app gets approved without any issues. So we must have to go through the security and privacy compliance, performance optimizations. We must have to test several times our app to the app is still doing as expected, and not the app is not being crashed. So for that reasons proper testing of the app is very much required before publishing into App Store. So proper code signing and provisioning profiles are also very essential to deploy the app successfully. And then we have iOS development workflow. The development workflow starts with planning and designing the app, followed by coding, testing, and finally deploying into the App Store. During this process, we'll be using Xcode extensively along with the other tools and libraries to streamline development and ensure the quality output. Now let's see what setup is required for iOS development. Before we start building iOS apps, we must set up our development environment. So this involves installing Xcode, setting up the Apple developer account, and configuring devices for testing. Proper setup will make your development process smoother and more efficient. So first of all, install Xcode. Xcode is the official IDE, that means the integrated development environment for iOS development. After downloading and installing it, ensure you have all the necessary components like simulators and additional tools. Familiarize yourself with Xcode's interface and features to streamline your coding experience. So you can download the Xcode from the Apple developer.apple.com website, and here you can see this. So the Xcode is the official ID for iOS development. And then install command line tools. Command line tools are essential for using various build and debugging utilities. Installing these tools enables you to run commands related to development directly from the terminal, which enhances your productivity during coding and testing. So again, you can get command line tools, older versions for Xcode and beta versions of other software. So additional if you go to additional tools and view download options, you can see what available or different tools are there to download. Then we can you can set up having an Apple developer account is mandatory for testing apps on real devices and for publishing them on the App Store. Enrolling the Apple developer program also gives you access to beta software and advanced app distribution features, as I say, beta or beta software and advanced app distribution features that of test flight. So we'll be able to access the test flight feature to test the app internally. So once we have the Apple developer account, or once we enroll into the Apple developer account, so we can just go to the Apple developer program website, and then we can to become an Apple developer program member, we can just start enrollment process from here. Then we can set up the device, setting up the devices like iPhone or iPad for development involves connecting it to the Mac and configuring it to the Xcode. Enabling developer mode on the device allows us to test the apps directly on the real hardware, which is crucial for identifying performance and UI issues. So enable developer mode on device. This guide will help you how to enable the developer mode, basically how to enable a device to make it work in the development environment. And then install Homebrew. Homebrew is a package manager for macOS that helps install additional utilities like Cocoa Pods. It simplifies the management of dependencies and other essential tools, making the development environment more versatile and efficient. So if you need any additional helps regarding Homebrew, how to install it on a Mac, then you can go to this docs.brew.sh website, and you can just follow up these instructions here. Then so you can always think about why does Apple have strict App Store guidelines? How does Apple's closed ecosystem affect developers? What are the key differences between Swift and Objective-C, and what are the advantages of iOS over Android development? So moving next, we'll keep exploring the in the next session, in the next video I will show the Swift fundamentals and Xcode setup, focusing on syntax, loops and functions. We'll also practice some coding in swift playgrounds to reinforce what we learn. So stay curious and get ready for hands-on coding sessions. Thank you. Thanks for watching and feel free to reach out with any questions or feedback. Thank you.